It is now time for the Robesonian Sports Report with Chris Stiles on 97.1 FM, 1340 AM, WAGR in Lumberton, covering sports for Robeson County. Now here's your host, Chris Stiles.
And good morning to you here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR. I'm Chris Stiles, sports editor at the Robesonian, and here for a quick half-hour glance at all things happening in Robeson County local sports at the high school level and as well at UNCP. So jumping right in, it's here early on in the basketball season, but the season is certainly already in full swing, and I'm going to take a quick look, kind of a current state of affairs look at each team throughout the county. We'll look at the boys here first, and then later on in the show at the girls as well. So starting with the boys and just going through here in alphabetical order, starting with Fairmont, who's off to a 4-1 start. The Golden Tornadoes beat Lumberton on Friday night 57-45 and then earned a 60-42 win Tuesday night over Cape Fear. 3 of their 4 wins are over United 8 Conference schools, 3A, 4A schools that are larger than them. So these are impressive wins in that sense. 2 of those over Lumberton as well, they had lost 12 in a row too entering this season. And then a 1-point loss to 71st is their only loss, and 71st, the 2-time reigning champs of the United 8 Conference. So certainly an impressive start for Fairmont, an experienced team showing a better consistency and really more comfortability this season as they get into what is many of them's senior season. Landon Cummings returned from injury against Cape Fear and scored 15 points with 8 rebounds, while Tyreek Thompson and Nyshawn Davis had big nights in the post as well for the Golden Tornadoes. Fairmont is at Northside Jacksonville coming up on Friday, and then they'll have about a week and a half off before they're playing at Whiteville on Tuesday, December 19th, which is one day before the Robeson County Shootout. Kind of an interesting situation playing a game there the day before, but they've chosen to do so. So that's the upcoming schedule for them. I mentioned Lumberton falling to Fairmont 57-45. The Pirates are 0-3 as well. They lost to Scotland on Monday night 44-38. So some growing pains for a young Lumberton team. They're actually playing decent on the defensive end, but they're having trouble scoring the basketball. Going to have to find more scoring. Jaden Shepard and Damian Robinson, a couple of the veterans on this team, playing pretty well, but they're looking for some help on the offensive end from some of their other teams. Coach Brian Edwards said he's kind of hoping to avoid an 0-5 mark when they enter the Robeson County Shootout in a couple of weeks, as they're 0-3 right now. But they'll play Scotland again on the road next Monday, and the next Friday open conference play at Cape Fear. So that 0-5 record, I'm not going to say necessarily is probable, but certainly is realistic as if they continue playing the way they have. But obviously the Pirates looking for growth and improvement here from a young team this season. Purnell Sweat off to a 1-1 start after a win over East Bladen 56-45 on Friday. They pulled away late in this game. They're playing East Bladen again on Wednesday night, which is, as it happens, after we're recording this. So Colin Sampson hit several threes in the win over East Bladen on Friday and scored 29 points. He's going to have to be a big piece for them this season, and he certainly was in that game on Friday. Coach Jeremy Sampson's teams often are scrappy, defensive-minded, and that proved to be the case in the East Bladen win and shows they can be that team throughout the season here. The Rams host A.L. Brown on Friday. As a quick note, the A.L. Brown team is coached by former Purnell Sweat girls coach Jonathan Eford. That school's located in Kannapolis, and they're making the trip here on Friday. And then next week, Purnell Sweat will open conference play on Friday against Grays Creek. Here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR, I'm your host, Chris Stiles, sports editor at the Robesonian, and looking at each high school basketball team here in Robeson County on the boys' side. And Red Springs is off to a 2-4 start after a loss to Hoke County on Friday, 64-51. Also lost to Jack Britt on Tuesday, 48-36. And faced Hoke County on Wednesday night. A tough start against a tough schedule. 4 out of their 6 games are on the road. 5 out of 6 against larger schools in the United 8. And the other was against Northwood Temple, a strong private school program in Fayetteville. This was kind of by design. Coach Glenn Patterson Jr. wants a battle-tested team in conference play and ultimately state conference state tournaments come around later on. So that's kind of what's required to get there is to go through the ringer a little bit with a tough schedule. But all three of their senior guards are playing pretty well. Makai Arthur averaging around 20 a game. Kadon Porter and Connor Oxendine averaging double figures as well. Porter also around 4 assists per game. Red Springs will be hosting Cape Fear on Friday and then hosting Douglas-Byrd on Tuesday. St. Paul's is 2-2 thus far. They haven't played since Tuesday of last week in the midst of a 10-day off stretch that will come to an end this Friday. Their wins are against Douglas-Byrd. Their losses are against tougher opposition, but those losses are games they can certainly learn from. I've heard a lot of coaches say a lot of times they'll pick up more from those games than they will, not meant as a disrespect to Douglas-Byrd, but a struggling program. St. Paul's may not pick up too much from a dominant win over them per se. Tyson Thompson, who was the Defensive Player of the Year last year in Robeson County, the sophomore, picking up kind of where he left off defensively, averaging over 6 rebounds and 3 blocks a game, but also is the leading scorer for the Bulldogs right now with 13 points a game. And then Ja'Kai Purcell has been another impact sophomore with a couple of big games so far. Bulldogs host Fayetteville Christian on Friday and then travel to West Columbus on Tuesday. At the collegiate level, UNCP's off to a 6-3 start and won their conference opener on Saturday over Southern Wesleyan 84-59. This game they were actually able to stretch out a lead in the second half, which is something they've struggled with so far this season. A lot of games they've led at halftime, and then that lead has shrunk after halftime. This time it was 15, and they expanded it to as many as, I think it was 38 or 39 was their largest lead in this game. And they did it with bench production from Josh Berenbaum, from Dallas Gardner, Javante Waverly, and the returning Cortez Marion Holmes, less than 9 months removed from an ACL injury. He was back on Saturday. Great to see him back. And that was 56 total bench points from the Braves. 7 players scored 7 points or more, but nobody had more than 11, so a great balance for UNCP in that game as they had a solid start to their Conference Carolina's title defense. The Braves will be at King on next Wednesday. And you can read about all that at Robesonian.com and in the print edition of the Robesonian. Coming up next, we'll talk to Fairmont girls basketball coach Marcus Thompson on the other side of the break. You're listening to Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR. Back on the Robesonian Sports Report here on WAGR, and we're joined over the phone by Fairmont girls basketball coach Marcus Thompson. How's it going, Coach?
It's going good. How are you?
Doing good. And you guys are 5 games into the season. You've won 4 of them so far. So how would you assess where you guys are at so far this season?
I think we're in a good place, still growing. I'm lucky to have won 4 of those games, considering we haven't really played well, but we're still growing, still learning, still trying to replace the leadership that we lost. But the girls are definitely all in and trying to do their best.
And Tanaya Sims, a junior post for you, has been a big piece, kind of as advertised. She's the 2-time reigning underclassman of the year in Robeson County. Won't be eligible for that award now as a junior, but had a big double-double Tuesday night and a win over 71st. What'd she bring to the table for you guys?
Tanaya brings a lot of toughness, a lot of energy, and she really she loves to compete. It's definitely a big deal having her. She's definitely been growing as a player, and she's growing as a person slowly but surely. So it's a huge piece to have a young lady like Tanaya who's out there giving it their all every night.
And then twins Nia Smith and Maya Smith in the backcourt have been big for you as well here early in the season. A lot of energy that they provide, and a lot of scoring, a lot of facilitating, and the fact there's 2 of them, frankly. So what do they bring to the table as well?
They are growing into some new roles, having to handle the ball a lot more than usual from the years past, but they're getting a lot of practice at it, and they're doing well every night. They are amazing competitors as well. They also get after it. They put a lot of extra time in the gym here lately, and I'm extremely proud of the effort they've been given away from practice and away from the game. What they've done on their own, coming in the gym during the weekend, it speaks volumes, and you can clearly tell that they've grown this year.
And then some other girls on your team, either new to the team or in expanded roles this year. So how have some of those girls adjusted here early in the season?
I think everyone is, adjusting as I expected. I know it's going to take some time. I always tell people that, the season really doesn't start until January because you have to work out a lot of kinks. You do the best you can until January, and in January you get a chance to see what you really have, and you're just trying to grow, keep growing, throwing in new things in practice. But I think Zariah Locklear, she's finding her space. She hasn't shown us who she really is on the court. She could do a lot better. I feel like Nia Rogers, little Nia Rogers, I think she's going to be a big piece once she gets the freshman jitters out of her. I also think Myasia Sims, she's playing more minutes than she's ever had to play in her 4 years. So some of it is getting in shape. Some of it is just getting comfortable knowing that we are relying on you. And this is the first year that all of these girls, they are really relied upon a lot, and my expectations for them are high. So I know it's tough for them stepping into these new roles, but I also like Jalea Stevens. She's definitely doing a good job. She's coming off of JV, and she gave us a big boost last night.
Mm-hmm.
I think she went 5 for 11 from the field. So she, everybody's trying to find their space. I'm hoping by January we will all be comfortable with each other and comfortable in our roles, and then we can get running.
And every year at the high school level, there's some turnover, but this year especially, as you guys kind of shift into life without Paris Bethea, Miracle Vault, and Sydney Jacobs, your seniors from last year that were such an important core as this program has built itself up. So what's that adjustment period been like for you guys?
I think the biggest thing we're missing is just leadership and ball control. But I will say the girls have taken it on as a challenge to not drop off. They're not really trying to see a huge drop-off. So they're challenging themselves, which is pushing them to do some things outside of practice to be better. And like I told them, we're not going to see it overnight. What they do outside of practice, it doesn't happen overnight. But eventually it'll show up. The hard work will show up. But I think leadership and ball control is what we're trying to, and time management, knowing when to possibly shoot a three, when not to, when to drive, when not to, understanding when you're up, how to handle those big leads. Because we've had some 16-point leads that have turned into 9-point leads. It's just a matter of time management and leadership on the court that we're trying to fill with those three gone. So, but I definitely think that the girls see it as a challenge, and they'll step up to it.
Here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR, I'm your host, Chris Stiles, sports editor at the Robesonian, and we're here with Fairmont girls basketball coach Marcus Thompson. And Coach Thompson's in his 5th season at Fairmont. So, and you took over a program that had not won a game the previous year. You've grown it and gotten better each year. So how would you describe the growth in the program and what that's been like since you took over?
It's been amazing. Glory to God for answering prayers and allowing me to be in this position. But it has been amazing. It's always good to see the fruit. The seeds were planted we're seeing the fruit. The past 3 years, we've seen a lot of fruit, especially when you think about when the year that I think it was the year it was the Twins' freshman year. We started seeing them fruit then, but it's been a great experience. I think it's been a great experience, and it's built on obedience and sacrifice, and girls just following me and trusting the process and trusting me to because a lot of girls are extremely obedient, and I know I ask a lot of them, and when they do those things that I ask of them, honestly, it's showing up in records and it's showing up in behavior. Some of the things that we see on the court are great, but a lot of things that I see off the court it's better for me because I want to see them grow as not just basketball players, but young women. So to me, I feel like we're winning across the board.
And I had Jamar Thompson on the show last week and asked him this from their side. Over your 4 or 5 years in the program, how has the series with St. Paul's kind of evolved from you guys on the bad end of some blowouts early on in your tenure against them to splitting the 2 games last year and sharing a conference championship?
It's definitely it's a I guess it's according to how you look at it. I do feel like St. Paul's program started, with Mike being there, prior to Jay being there. I feel like, they started this process, 2 or 3 years before I took over the program at Fairmont. So, to me, I feel like we are up and coming, and we're trying to get to where they're at. They are amazing. That's an amazing program over there. I think Jamar did a great job last year, stepping in and having to coach that group without the Twins. It's exciting though that they blew us out last year too when we played them at St. Paul. But I think it's exciting to be in the number. I think it's exciting for the girls to know that they're in the number and that they can compete. So we're just growing. We're trying to grow the program into something that we haven't seen. If you look at the pattern, I'm a history major, so I look at patterns. So if you look at the pattern of Fairmont girls basketball program, usually when seniors leave, there's a huge drop-off, like even from the 80s on up. Like there's a huge drop-off after certain seniors leave. So I'm trying to see if we can continue what we've been doing with the seniors leaving. But, yeah, definitely St. Paul's. It's definitely it's good to have someone like them in your conference, someone like them in your county to push you, because if there's nobody to push you, then a lot of times you'll get complacent. So, yeah, big ups to St. Paul. That's a great program with great coaches over there.
And looking ahead a couple of weeks here to the Robson County Shootout, and Fairmont has only won the girls' title one time. That came back in 2006. So you guys will be probably one of the favorites going into that event. How much are you guys looking forward to that event, and how much is that a goal of yours to win that event?
It would be nice to win. It would be nice to win the shootout. We're definitely excited about the shootout. I got a chance to play in the shootout. The shootout is always super exciting. As I told you previously when we interviewed before the season starts, I feel like if we can be consistent, we'll be okay. The goal for this year, and I challenge my girls just to keep that in mind, is to be consistent. Be consistent at doing the little things right. And if we can be consistent at doing the little things right, we'll be in the hunt to win the shootout. But I can't say that we have wrote that down as one of our goals. Like, the goal is just to be consistent at doing the little things right. And if we do those things right, then we'll be in the hunt, and we could possibly win it. It would be great to win it. I mean, it's great. I want to win every game we play. That's my stance on it. but I can't say we've had a lot of conversation in the locker room about winning the shootout. We just want to do the little things right and be consistent at doing those things right.
And you've got some community involvement beyond just basketball. You were telling me earlier your organization, God is Life Ball, is a platform, and some other involvement as well. So tell us about that.
Yes, so God is Life Ball is a platform. It's built on spirituality, education, and it's built on basketball pretty much. And just you train kids while you're training them, and while you have these travel ball groups together, you're trying to build character in the process. This past fall, I was lucky to work with Steve Sinclair and do a fall league for high school girls. So hopefully we can build on that and build on the travel ball piece. But at the same time, we pass out scholarships. We do $1,000 for an athlete in the county that play sports. They don't have to go to school to play sports, but it's $1,000 for them if they're going to school. And we also do small groups as well. So that's pretty much God is Life Ball's platform.
Yep. Marcus Thompson, thanks for joining us here on the Robesonian Sports Report.
All right, thank you.
And we'll be right back after this. And back on the Robesonian Sports Report, and as we get ready to come to a close here on the show this morning, going to take a look here in the last segment at girls basketball around the county and kind of the current state of affairs for each of the girls teams at the high school level, and in a moment as well UNCP. Starting with Fairmont, as we go through these again in just in alphabetical order. Fairmont's 5-1 to start the season, and we just talked to Marcus Thompson, the head coach. They beat Lumberton 61-41. Check that, 61-21 on Friday. Beat 71st 55-46 Tuesday night. Off to a good start, controlling games. Their only loss was at Richmond against a 4A program. Tanaya Sims had a double-double against 71st, as we talked about with Coach Thompson. Their best returning resume, if you will. I say it that way because she's not necessarily even the single best player on the team. It's kind of a production by committee approach with Naya and Maya Smith. The twins are putting up stat lines every game as well. And it's really interesting with them. They seem to score in double figures about every game, but every game their stat lines really seem to mirror each other, which is kind of ironic, being that they are twins and their games are very similar. 4, 5, 6 assists, 3, 4, 5 steals every game, it seems like, for them here to start the season. So they're all having a great campaign. The Golden Tornadoes are at Northside Jacksonville on Friday, and then have a few days off, a little more than a week off before Tuesday game, the week of the Robeson County Shootout at Whiteville, and then the shootout begins on Wednesday. Lumberton is 0-3 after a loss that I mentioned to Fairmont, as well as a loss on Monday to Scotland, 48-26. The Pirates are struggling to score right now. They're doing other things well, some good passing, some good ball movement, but struggling to get the ball in the basket. And the schedule hasn't really helped either, with a couple games against Fairmont, and then Scotland was a conference champion a year ago as well. Andrea Brown has been much improved in the post for the Pirates, and then some other players as well off to good starts. The Pirates will face Scotland again on the road this coming Monday, and then the following Friday will be at Cape Fear in their United 8 Conference opener. Purnell Sweat is at 1-1, entering play Wednesday night. They defeated East Bladen 46-39 and then faced East Bladen again on Wednesday. Great recovery in that game Friday night from a blowout loss in the previous game to Hoggard to come back and beat a obviously perennially good East Bladen team. Nia Locklear, 26 points in that game for Purnell Sweat, and this is one of the seniors on this young team. Her leadership is going to be pivotal for them, and she provided quite a bit of it on the floor for them in that game. She nearly averaged a double-double last year, which I think a lot of people forget sometimes with those three guards that they had that graduated, but she's certainly a big returning piece. Rams face A.L. Brown at home on Friday, and then next Friday will open league play against Grays Creek. Here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR, I'm your host, Chris Stiles, as we're taking a quick glance at each high school girls basketball team in the county. And it's been a struggle to start for Red Springs. They are winless on the season thus far, including a loss to Hope County on Friday night. And every game's been against a larger school, and some of these have been quality programs, so the schedule's been tough for them. That certainly will have the potential to help Red Springs later once they play schools their own size. They'll be hosting Cape Fear on Friday and then hosting Douglas Byrd next Tuesday. St. Paul's is 3-1 to start the season in the midst of a 2-week break right now without a game since their November 28th win over Douglas Byrd. And stretching out to next Tuesday when they'll face West Columbus, which is their last game before their Robes County Shootout opener on December 20th. The wins are over Douglas Byrd and a struggling Broughton program, but they've controlled those games as they should. And then a loss to Seaforth was in a playoff rematch. That did show the Bulldogs where there's room for growth. Seaforth was able to stretch that game out a good bit. Deshaunte Harris averaging 21 points, nearly 7 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and nearly 5 steals per game. And then Zariana Shipman has been an impact player as a transfer for St. Paul's with 17 points, 2.5 assists, and 2.5 steals a game so far this season. And as I mentioned, St. Paul's is at West Columbus on Tuesday night. UNCP, the women's basketball program there, is 5-3 to start the season and 1-0 in conference play after a 68-58 win on Saturday against Southern Wesleyan. This team's kind of had hot and cold stretches offensively in several games this year, including the last couple. Built a lead in the third quarter against Southern Wesleyan with a strong offense and their typical stellar defense that the program kind of has as a hallmark. But then there were some defensive lapses that let Southern Wesleyan in that game late, and then they had a long stretch in the fourth quarter that they didn't score. So, but Hannah Russell made a couple big plays late, a couple steals, and one of those led to a big three that kind of put it away. And Kalea Hall and Zaria Clark are consistently putting up numbers so far this season for the Lady Braves. They're hosting Winston-Salem State in a non-conference game on Saturday, and then they'll play an exhibition game at Division I Coastal Carolina on Sunday before resuming league play Wednesday at King. And as always, you can read about all this in the Robesonian and at Robesonian.com. Basketball coverage across the board, and then also two cheerleading teams locally won state championships over the weekend from Purnell Sweat and St. Paul's. There's a story about that in Wednesday's paper as well as up on the website. Red Springs offensive lineman Tim Hammonds was a late add to the East-West All-Star Game in football that's going to be held in a couple of weeks in Greensboro. And then a couple of volleyball signings collegiately from Purnell Sweat as well. So you can read all that at Robesonian.com and in the newspaper as well. So for all of us here at WAGR, for Paul Matthews behind the scenes, I'm Chris Stiles. Thanks to Marcus Thompson for joining us, and thanks to you for joining us as well here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR.